chosen one, right now, in this exact moment, something very specific is trying to prevent you from receiving what I am about to say. Not the notification you dismissed to open this. Not the thought you had to push aside. Not the noise in the room around you. Something older than all of that has been working against your ability to hear, and it began long before this message appeared in front of you. The first interference is in your mind. The volume of your own thinking has been running so loud for so long that you have learned to mistake your own mental noise for the absence of a voice. You have been sitting in a room where someone has been speaking the entire time, but the sound system inside you has been competing so aggressively that the voice has become indistinguishable from everything else you are carrying. God has not stopped speaking. The channel has become congested. The second interference is in your timing. You have noticed it. Every time something important has approached your life, a pressure has appeared alongside it, a demand, a crisis, something requiring your attention immediately on that specific day, at that specific hour. This is not coincidence. The enemy understands the architecture of divine delivery. He knows that a distracted receiver cannot collect what is being sent. He has studied your patterns. He knows exactly when to introduce maximum noise. The third interference is what you carry without naming it. The unanswered question you stopped asking because the silence began to feel like an answer. The prayers that rose and seemed to dissolve before they arrived anywhere. The grief that has no official title but that lives in the background of your days like a frequency no one else can hear. These are not evidence that God has stepped back from you. They are the most precise form of static that exists. The weight of accumulated waiting, layered until the signal became difficult to separate from the noise. You are within days of something. I need you to hear that not as a motivational phrase, but as a specific and literal statement. You are within days of either stepping through a door that has been standing in your life for an entire season, or you are within days of another deferral, another delay, another stretch of almost arriving at what your spirit has been quietly sensing. The difference between those two outcomes rests in a single variable. Whether you can hear clearly enough in the days ahead to recognize what God is placing directly in front of you. So, I need you to do something that every competing force in your life is going to resist. I need you to stop, not slow down. Not listen to this while you handle something else in the background. Drop absolutely everything right now and hear what God is saying to you in this message. This is not urgency aimed against you. This is urgency built entirely for you. God is not angry at your distraction. He is not disappointed by the divided attention that the world has been demanding of you year after year. He knows what the years have done to the clarity you were designed to carry. He is not pointing a finger. He is extending a hand. And what he is speaking into this moment is something your spirit has been waiting to receive for longer than your mind has consciously tracked. If something in you already recognized it before I said a word, if there was a knowing the moment you opened this, type "the alarm is ringing" in the comments right now and declare that you heard it before I spoke it. Now, I want to tell you something about why this message is reaching you at this particular time. There is an attack that has been operating against your ability to receive for years. And I do not mean that in the abstract, generalized way it is often spoken about. Sure. I mean a structured, targeted, and patient campaign against the very instrument inside you that processes divine communication. What you are dealing with is not ordinary spiritual dryness. It is not the normal difficulty of faith in a complicated season. What you are dealing with has a specific mechanism, and that mechanism has been operating so quietly and so consistently that you have begun to accept its results as permanent. You have started to believe that the diminished version of your hearing is simply who you are now, that the fog is your baseline. that the difficulty you have distinguishing between your own thoughts, your fears, and the voice of God is simply the condition of being human in a complicated world. It is not. It is a symptom. And symptoms have causes, and causes have solutions. Here is what I am going to show you in this message. I am going to show you the exact shape of what has been blocking you, because you cannot address something you have not fully named. I am going to show you the root beneath the root, the cause beneath the cause. The thing that is making every other spiritual practice feel like it is working at a fraction of its potential. I am going to show you why your prayers have felt less direct than they once did, and why the clarity you carry in your most private and honest moments about who God says you are has been so difficult to hold consistently in the rest of your life. And I'm going to tell you about something that was discovered in research laboratories that most people in spiritual communities have never been told about. I will come back to that before this message ends. First, you need to see the full architecture of what you are dealing with. Type chosen before time if you are still here. You are not here by accident. Something in you knew. Let me start with the first layer of what has been blocking you from hearing clearly. And I want to be precise about this, because the church has often given a single answer to the question of why people struggle to hear God. And that answer is usually some variation of sin, or not spending enough time in prayer, or not being hungry enough. And while those things matter, they do not account for something that has nothing to do with your hunger or your holiness. Something that has been happening below the level of your choices. Here is what most spiritually sincere people carry without knowing it. You are doing everything right. You are showing up. You are pressing through. You are honoring the calling even when the evidence is not cooperating. You have not walked away from faith. You have not numbed yourself to the voice. If anything, you have become more diligent, more intentional, more earnest in your pursuit of clarity. And yet, the hearing has become more difficult, not less. The signal has gotten quieter while you have gotten louder in your seeking. I want to tell you about a man named Marcus before I name what is causing this. Marcus was a contractor from Ohio. He woke up at 5:30 every morning before his household was awake, before the first job call, before the noise of the day organized itself. He had been doing this for 6 years. He pressed in faithfully. He was in the Word before the sun was up. And somewhere around year 4, he started noticing something he could not explain and was almost embarrassed to say out loud. The more he pressed in, the quieter the signal got. He told me he would sit there with his Bible open and feel like he was pressing his ear against a wall, certain someone was speaking on the other side, but unable to make out a single word. He had not lost his faith. He had not sinned in some disqualifying way. The receiver had simply been degraded by something he had no name for. What Marcus was carrying is what you are carrying right now. Think about the last morning you woke up before your alarm, before the phone lit up, before the first thought about what was owed or expected. There was a window. A few seconds before the noise organized itself back into your life. That is the window. That is what the interference has been closing. Now picture that window shrinking. Not disappearing, shrinking. One commitment added. One worry arriving earlier. 1 year layered on top of another. Until the space is gone and the mind is running the full load from the moment it opens its eyes. That is not a spiritual problem. It is the effect of a particular kind of sustained mental load, the kind that comes not from sinfulness but from the sheer volume of decisions, inputs, demands, and competing urgencies that the modern context generates in a single day. Your mind has been running a process it was never originally designed to run at this sustained intensity, and it has been running it for years without sufficient restoration. And that accumulated overload has done something to the receiving mechanism, something specific and measurable. something that sincere prayer alone, while essential, cannot fully undo, the same way that sincere effort alone cannot replace sleep. You have prayed about the fog. You have believed for clarity. You have declared it, received it in moments, and then watched it dissipate again within hours or days. Not because your prayer was insufficient, not because God withheld the answer, because what has been disrupted is operating at a level that prayer lifts the spirit above, but that the instrument still carries when the moment of prayer ends. The prophet Elijah understood what it meant to have the spirit willing and the instrument depleted. After the greatest spiritual victory of his life, after he took down the prophets of Baal, he collapsed under a tree and asked to die. He was not in sin. He was not faithless. He was emptied, and God did not rebuke him. God sent an angel with food and water and said, "The journey is too great for you." The condition of the instrument mattered to God. It mattered enough that heaven intervened at the level of the body before the prophetic assignment resumed. God did not skip the restoration. He insisted on it. You are sitting under that tree right now in a way that looks like ordinary life. And what you need is not more spiritual effort layered on top of a depleted receiver. What you need is what God sent to Elijah first. Restoration at the level of the instrument itself, so that when he speaks, you can hear the whole word and not just the parts that survive the interference. Type "I hear the call" in the comments right now if you have been pressing through the fog with everything you have, and if you know exactly what I am describing. Now I want to show you something about the nature of the receiving problem, because once you see its actual shape, you will understand why it has been so persistent, and you will understand why the specific thing I am going to tell you about later in this message is not an addition to your faith practice, but is a restoration of something that was always supposed to be functioning inside you. The human mind was not assembled by accident. It was designed with a specific architecture. Built into that design is a particular capacity that most adults in the modern world are operating without. Not because they chose poorly, not because they were not faithful enough, because the world around them systematically, gradually, and methodically suppressed it. And the suppression began earlier than you think. It began in childhood. Long before the noise of adult life arrived, something was already beginning to close. There is a study that most people who care deeply about spiritual things have never seen, not because it is obscure, but because it came from a place most spiritual communities have not been watching. Researchers who study human cognition found that when they tested children between the ages of 3 and 5, more than 98 out of every 100 of them scored at what the researchers classified as creative genius level. The same children were tested again at 10 years old. The number had dropped to 30 out of 100, tested again at 15, less than 12 out of 100, tested again as adults. Less than 2 out of every 1,000. The capacity was there at the beginning. Something did not fail to develop it. Something actively removed it. Now, I want you to understand what that means spiritually, because this is not simply a story about creativity or cognitive ability. It is a story about design. God did not build you at a reduced level. He did not create you at a fraction of your intended capacity and expect you to compensate for it through discipline and effort. He built you at full capacity. He built you with a mind designed to function in integrated wholeness, both hemispheres synchronized, the logical and the intuitive working in unison, the analytical and the prophetic reinforcing each other rather than competing. That is the default state you were born with, the state in which the voice of God is most easily received, because the instrument is operating as it was designed to operate. What happened to that capacity? It did not disappear. It was suppressed, gradually, consistently, by an environment that rewarded one type of thinking and penalized the other. The school system taught you to live almost entirely in one mode of the mind: linear, sequential, analytical, measurable. The part of the mind that receives intuitively, that processes the whole picture at once, that holds the kind of knowing that arrives before the logic can explain itself, that part was not developed alongside the rest. It was not celebrated. In many environments, it was actively discouraged. Stop daydreaming. Be practical. Focus on what can be proven. And over years, what was natural in childhood, the easy synchronization between both modes of thought, became foreign in adulthood. The two sides of your mind stopped working together the way they were built to work together. And that separation has consequences that go far deeper than creativity. Here is the part that most people have never been told. The suppression of that synchronization has a direct effect on how clearly you can receive divine communication. The voice of God does not only arrive through logic, it arrives through knowing, through that quiet internal recognition that bypasses the analytical mind and lands somewhere deeper, through the still small voice that Elijah heard, not in the wind or the earthquake or the fire, but in the place that the noise cannot reach. And when the part of the mind that receives that way has been systematically closed down, the voice does not disappear. The receiver becomes unable to process the full signal. You receive fragments. You receive impressions that dissolve before they solidify into direction. You receive partial words from a message that was sent in full. Now, I want to pause and hold something in front of you before we continue. Over the past several years, something has been discovered in research laboratories that most people who care deeply about the things we have been discussing have never been told about. Not because it contradicts anything sacred, because it came from a direction most of us are not watching. A small group of neuroscientists working under a doctor in New York who has spent 20 years studying this specific question found something about the way the human brain is designed that explains something that most spiritually sensitive people have felt but have never been able to name. Something so fundamental it traces back to a Nobel Prize, yet so simple in its application that it sounds almost too straightforward the first time you hear it. I am going to tell you exactly what they found before this message ends. But right now, hold this question in your spirit. What if the reason your mind feels foggy, the reason the signal feels partial and inconsistent, is not your age, not your discipline, not your proximity to God, but something that was specifically taken from you and something that can be specifically restored? Hold that question. We will come back to it. If your spirit is open to receive what I am about to bring forward in this message, type "I receive what is mine" in the comments right now and declare that you are ready to hear the whole of it. Now let me show you the second layer of what has been working against you, because the physiological suppression I just described is only part of the picture. There is something else operating alongside it that most spiritual teaching addresses without naming the mechanism beneath it. The enemy of your calling has refined his strategy over centuries. He does not primarily attack faith directly in people who are rooted. Direct attacks on faith create resistance. Rooted people recognize the assault and lean in harder. What he has found to be far more effective in this generation is not attacking the faith, but attacking the instrument through which faith operates. If he can keep the receiver offline, he does not need to touch your belief at all. He can let you believe fully, pray sincerely, pursue diligently, attend every gathering, read every word, and still limit what arrives, because the channel through which divine communication travels has been compromised at the neurological level. This is why spiritually sincere people who have given everything to their calling, who have been faithful through seasons that would have broken others, who have not walked away, who have not numbed themselves, still find themselves struggling to hear clearly. The attack is not on their devotion. The attack is on the neurological infrastructure through which the devotion connects with direction, and the method is not dramatic. It does not announce itself. It is the sustained and relentless pressure of modern life. The volume of decisions, the speed of information, the constant low-grade urgency of a world that never stops demanding the next response. These are not neutral inconveniences. They are the primary mechanism of the interference in this generation. Your mind was designed to operate in a rhythm, periods of high engagement, followed by genuine restoration. The ancient design included Sabbath not as a religious formality, but as a biological necessity built into the architecture of the receiving mind. What the modern world has done is remove the restoration while tripling the demand. And the result, in the specific place where divine communication is processed and integrated, is a static that no amount of additional spiritual input can override, because the receiver itself is too taxed to process the signal at full resolution. You are not failing to receive. You are receiving with a broken antenna. I want you to picture for a moment what your life looks like when the receiver is fully online, not a future you have to build toward through years of additional effort. The version of you that was always supposed to be operating, the one that existed before the suppression, accumulated layer by layer. When the receiver comes back online, the way you move through a decision changes. You do not spiral. You do not lie awake, running the same calculations over and over until exhaustion settles the question by default. You go to your place of prayer and the answer arrives. Not always immediately, but with a clarity that is unmistakable when it comes. You recognize the voice. You know when it is speaking and when it is not. You are not confusing your fear with his direction. You are not mistaking your own desire for his instruction. The internal signal is clear enough to navigate from, because the noise between you and the voice has been addressed at its source. Something else shifts when the fog lifts, not the fog of difficult circumstances. Those remain and are worked through. But the fog of the mind itself, the one that has been sitting between you and the fullness of what God has been trying to show you, that clears. And what you find underneath it is not something new. It is something original, the way your mind was before the suppression accumulated, the full instrument functioning the way the builder designed it, the hearing restored to what it was in the beginning. The version of you operating at full capacity walks into your relationships differently. Because you are no longer depleted by the static, you are not spending your relational energy managing the noise inside your own head, while simultaneously trying to be present for the people who need you. You are actually there, fully there. The conversations shift. The ones who are meant to be in your season find you more accessible because you are no longer obscured by something that was never supposed to be there. A woman named Rachel, who had been leading a small congregation in rural Georgia for 11 years, came to a moment where the sermons were accurate, but the live signal felt distant. She sat down one Sunday morning before the service, looked at her notes, and realized she could no longer feel the thing that used to drive her to the pulpit. She could reach for the theology. She could access the framework, but the live signal that had been so immediate in the early years had become faint. She concluded this was simply what maturity looked like. She was wrong about the cause. When the receiver was restored, the first thing she heard was not a new assignment. It was a confirmation of what he had told her in the beginning. As if the message had been waiting patiently in the air for the channel to clear before it could fully land. The word was not new. The receiver was. I want to tell you about a young man in a text that most of you know. Samuel was a boy, serving in the temple of God, under the priest Eli. The oil lamp in the temple had not yet gone out, which means it was the hour just before dawn. the last deep stillness before the world began its noise again. And in that darkness, God called him by name. Samuel heard the voice and ran to Eli, thinking the old priest had called him. Eli sent him back to bed. God called again. Samuel ran to Eli again. 3 times this happened before Eli understood what was occurring, and what the text says in that moment stopped me when I read it carefully. It says, Samuel did not yet know the Lord, meaning he did not yet know his voice, not because he was far from God. He was sleeping in the temple, as physically close to the presence of God as anyone in that story. But he had not yet received the training to distinguish the voice from everything else he heard. And what God did was not rebuke him for the confusion. He called again, and when Eli understood, he gave Samuel one instruction. When you hear it, say, Speak, Lord, for your servant hears. Not speak because I am ready. Speak because I am positioned. The posture was the preparation. You are in a Samuel season, not far from God, inside the temple, pressing toward the voice. But something about the way the voice arrives has not yet been fully decoded in your hearing. Not because of your faithfulness level, because the instrument needs the same thing Samuel needed, a moment of recognition and repositioning. There is a name for what you carry that most people who have tried to describe you have gotten partially right. You are not simply a believer. You are a signal carrier. The kind of person whose sensitivity runs deep enough that when you are operating at full capacity, people around you receive something they cannot fully explain. Something settles when you enter a room. Something clarifies when you speak. That is not your personality alone. That is your design. And it only operates at its full weight when the instrument is synchronized at the level it was built to function. The signal carrier cannot carry a signal they cannot first receive. And right now, the signal you carry is real but incomplete, not because God is sending a partial signal, but because the instrument is processing below its designed capacity. When that is restored, what flows through you to the people around you shifts, not in theory. In the lived reality of every conversation, every room, every relationship that has been waiting for the full version of you. I know some of you are holding a reasonable question right now. You have received words about restoration before. You have pressed in, believed, declared, waited, and the cycle has repeated. Why is what I am pointing toward different from what you have already tried? That question deserves a direct answer. What I am pointing toward is not a different prayer posture, not a new spiritual discipline, not a declaration or a decree. It is a specific neurological restoration that operates at the level beneath all of those things, at the level of the instrument that every practice flows through. And when the instrument is restored, every practice you already do becomes more effective. Not because the practice changed, because the receiver it flows through is now operating closer to its designed capacity. If you are still here and that landed somewhere honest in you, type deep, not late in the comments. Because the fact that you are still in this message, past the places where most people left, is not persistence. It is recognition. Now, here is the question I want you to sit with for just a moment. Why does knowing all of this still not produce immediate movement? Why does the insight stay as insight and not become the thing that changes everything? You have understood things deeply and still felt stuck. The answer is not in your mind. It is in a place you have not fully looked yet, and I want to show you exactly where that place is. Let me close the loop I opened at the beginning of this message. I told you there was something discovered in research laboratories, something most people in spiritual communities have never been told about. I want to bring it forward now. Here is the plain truth of what we are dealing with. The reason the fog persists is not spiritual, it is physiological. The part of your brain designed for integrated whole brain function, Both hemispheres working together the way they were designed to work together has been partially offline for years, not because of anything you did wrong, because the modern world systematically suppresses that synchronization from childhood onward, and nothing in the typical adult life restores it. That is why prayer helps but does not fully resolve it. Prayer lifts the spirit above the noise, but the instrument that carries the spirit back into daily life is still operating below capacity. That is what has been creating the gap between the clarity you receive in prayer and the clarity that stays with you after prayer ends. The gap is neurological, not spiritual. The who is you, the person who has been faithful through everything, who has not quit, who has not accepted the reduced version of their calling, and who is willing to address the problem at the exact level where it actually lives. That is who this is for. That is who what I am about to tell you about was built for. That is what you have been working with. That is not what you were built to stay with. The gap is real. The address of that gap is about to become clear. There is a study that won the Nobel Prize in 1981, not from a church or seminary, from a research laboratory. Dr. Roger Sperry received that prize for discovering how the two hemispheres of the human brain are designed to function, and specifically what the synchronized whole brain activation state produces. What he found was that the state in which both hemispheres operate in integrated unity is the state of highest human capacity, the state of expanded awareness, intuitive knowing, creative insight, the kind of reception that arrives before logic can explain it. And research, since his work, has found that 98% of children between 3 and 5 operate in that state naturally. Less than 2 in 1,000 adults retain it. A woman from California described what it felt like before she found what I am about to tell you. She had tried everything: prayer, journaling, meditation, every practice her community offered. She believed the words but could not feel the reality behind them in her body or in the lived texture of her days. After 10 days, she said something cleared. A channel that had been blocked was open, not because she tried harder, because the receiver had been repaired. A man from Texas described something similar. He had spent years holding things together for everyone around him, while his own interior life became thin and distant. Prayer had started to feel like talking into a space that did not echo back. 2 weeks later, he described his mind as running on all of what it was supposed to run on. The fog that had been so consistent he stopped registering it as fog was gone. That is because of what the team I am about to name discovered. A team of neuroscientists led by Dr. Daniel Barone in New York spent years doing the following. They took over an hour of clinical neural sync technology and through an intensive refinement process turned it into an 8-minute targeted auditory sequence. 8 minutes a day, headphones, eyes closed. That is the full physical requirement. They call it the Genius Switch. It is not a brainwave product, not a meditation app. It is a targeted auditory sequence engineered based on the Nobel Prize research of Dr. Roger Sperry to reconnect the two hemispheres and restore whole brain activation. The state you had in childhood, the state in which divine communication lands in full rather than in fragments. The Genius Switch addresses the gap at the level where the gap actually lives. This is not for everyone. It is for the chosen one who understands that God prepared not only the promise, but the mind that must walk into it. The one who has been sincere for years, has done the work, has felt the call clearly, and is willing to stop treating the fog as permanent and start treating it as something with a specific address. You have been faithful for a long time. You have not quit. You have not accepted the reduced version of your calling as the final version. And what God is pointing you toward in this season is not more effort. It is a specific and practical step that addresses the interference at its actual source. Dr. Barone and his team made this available at $39. On the page, the description link points to. Every dollar of that investment is backed by an unconditional money-back guarantee with no listening limit and no conditions. If the receiver does not shift, the investment returns to you, no questions asked. That guarantee is in place before I tell you what is included, because the risk question should be answered before the value question. There is no risk. Now, here is what comes with it. Bonus 1. A guided visualization that walks your mind through the 4 areas of life where the fog has done the most damage, not generic relaxation. A targeted walk through the specific places where the interference has been hitting you hardest, designed so your mind can begin to see what has been obscured there. Bonus 2. A grocery guide that identifies the specific foods in your kitchen right now that are working against your brain synchronization, with savings of over $100 per month. The foods are not exotic or expensive. They are ordinary items most households carry without knowing what they are doing to the receiving mechanism. Bonus 3. The original manifestation text from 100 years ago that every modern technique derives from, but most people have never read directly. Not a summary, not an interpretation. The source document that underlies every practice you have heard taught, available in full for the first time in this context. Bonus 4. A printable 5 habits infographic for the space where you begin your day. The specific 5 habits tied to maintaining the restored state once the receiver is back online, formatted for the wall or desk where the morning actually happens. If you search for similar tracks elsewhere, Dr. Barone and his team have studied them. Most carried no neural sync technology at all. The mechanism is what makes the difference. The link in the description and pinned comment points to the only verified source. The entry price of $39 was set for the early adoption window. That window does not have an announced closing date, but it is not permanent. The link in the description and in the pinned comment is the verified source. What is there today may not be there at $39 the next time you look. The tool does not replace God. It does not replace obedience. What God is doing in you is not conditional on any tool, but a tool that restores the receiver, gives what God is doing more of what it was designed to land in. Type "I release this" in the comments if you are releasing the version of yourself that accepted the fog as permanent. And type "I claim this" now to declare that the restored receiver, the one built for full reception, is yours in this season. And for the chosen one who felt something stir when the mind was discussed earlier, that door is still open in the description. Small steps taken from a clear mind have changed entire seasons for people carrying exactly what you carry. What I want to show you now is what the restoration looks like from the inside, not as a concept. As a lived shift in the way you move through your days, your decisions, your relationships, and most importantly, your relationship with the voice that has been trying to reach you through all of it. The first thing that changes when the receiver comes back online is not dramatic. It is quiet. It is the experience of a decision that used to require 3 days of anxious circling that now resolves itself in an hour. Not because you thought harder, because the clarity that was always supposed to arrive is now arriving, because the instrument processing it is no longer partially offline. The information was never as far away as the noise made it seem. The voice was always speaking. The instrument was not processing it at full resolution. What you thought was you failing to press in hard enough was your instrument attempting full reception with partial synchronization. You were not the problem. The receiver was the problem, and receivers can be restored. The second thing that changes is discernment. This is where spiritually sensitive people notice it most immediately, because discernment is the first faculty that suffers under a disrupted receiver, and the first one to sharpen when the receiver is restored. You begin to know, in a way that is quiet but solid, what belongs in your season and what does not, who is sent and who is not, what to step into and what to release. Not through better analysis, but through a signal from the part of you that has always known and has simply not been audible above the accumulated static. The third thing that changes is your experience of prayer itself. When the receiver is operating as designed, prayer is no longer something you have to strain to make feel meaningful. It becomes the natural exchange it was always meant to be. You speak, and the response arrives, not always in words, but in the settled knowing that follows, in the direction that clarifies, in the peace that comes not after circumstances change, but while they are still in motion, because the voice has already confirmed something that the visible evidence has not yet caught up to. The gap between praying and receiving begins to close because the distance was never about God withholding. It was about the channel being congested on the receiving end. This is what the Lord was pointing Samuel toward, not a new level of devotion. The simple repositioning of the receiver so that what had been speaking all along could be heard in full. Speak, Lord, for your servant hears. Not, I will try harder. Not, I will pray longer. I am positioned. The instrument is ready. That is the posture you are entering in this season, and it changes everything about how you move forward. There is a moment in every process of restoration where the person being restored has to make a decision about what they believe is possible for them. Not possible in the abstract. Possible specifically for them, given what they have been through, given how long the fog has been running, given how many times they have believed for something and watched the timeline extend. That decision is the threshold, and the fact that you are still in this message at this point means you have already made a version of that decision in your spirit. You have not decided. The fog is permanent. Something in you is still reaching. That reaching is not desperation. It is design. It is the chosen one in you, refusing to accept less than the full capacity it was built to carry. Let me give you 3 things to carry with you from this message, not as additional requirements, but as supports for the restoration you are stepping into. The first is the practice of the complete stop. Not prayer as one more item added to your day, but prayer as a replacement of everything else for a specific window where what usually runs in the background ceases entirely. Not to achieve something in that period, to practice the posture of the receiver. You are not performing, you are positioning. The voice is not always loud, it is always faithful. And the regular practice of the complete stop, as simple as it sounds, is what trains the instrument to distinguish signal from the accumulated noise over time. The second is the practice of the written acknowledgement. Each morning, before the demands of the day begin generating new input, write one sentence about what you heard or sensed in the previous 24 hours. Not what you think about something, what you received from something, not analysis, reception. Over weeks, this creates a record of the signal as it specifically arrives for you. And reviewing that record reveals patterns in how the voice of God reaches you distinctly. The voice has a signature, and the signature becomes unmistakable the more deliberately you attend to it. Most people never see the pattern because they never write it down. The third is the practice of the open question. When something arrives that requires discernment, resist the urge to force immediate resolution through your own analysis. Hold it as a genuine open question directed upward. I bring this before you, and I am going to receive the answer in the timing you have designated. The restored mind is not better at forcing answers than the disrupted mind. It is better at receiving answers because it is no longer trying to manufacture what it was always meant to receive. Before this message ends, I want to take you somewhere together. I am going to ask you to do something with me right now, and I am going to ask you to let it be real. If you are in a place where you can, let your eyes close. Take one slow breath, and then let it out all the way. I want you to picture the version of you that is operating at the capacity you were built for, not the straining version, not the version pressing through the fog with everything available to them. The version whose receiver is fully online. I want you to see what that person looks like when they wake up in the morning. The first thing that arrives is not a catalogue of what is still unresolved, it is a settled orientation, a sense of being held by something that has already made provision for what the day will require. Anxiety is still present sometimes, but it does not own the morning, because the signal is clear enough that the trust is not manufactured, it is received. I want you to see that version of you when a difficult moment arrives, not shutting down or responding from the surface, but hearing what is actually being communicated beneath what is being said, and responding to that deeper layer. That is the intuitive processing of a synchronized mind. I want you to see that version of you when an opportunity arrives, not analyzing it into uncertainty, not paralyzed by the fear that you might be wrong again. You bring it before God, and the answer comes with the quality of something already decided at a higher level. You are not guessing, you are receiving, because the channel is open and the signal is reaching the whole of you, not just the fragment that has been available. Take a breath now. Let that image settle somewhere that is not your head. Let it settle in your chest, in the part of you that recognizes truth before the logic can ratify it. That person you just pictured is not a future self you have to build from scratch. That is the original version of you, the one that existed before the suppression accumulated, the one that God was referring to when He formed you and said it is good. The restoration does not create something new. It recovers what was suppressed before you had a chance to protect it. You came into this message carrying something. Whatever you carried in, I want you to know something about it before you carry it out. The waiting was not empty. The Lord does not waste seasons. Every season that felt like delay was a season where something was being prepared, not just around you, but inside you. The receiver that is now being restored was also being developed through those years of pressing through with less than full capacity. You did not waste those years. They are part of what is being released into the next season. What has been accumulating in the waiting is being compressed into what arrives next. The weight of the preparation becomes the force of the arrival. You are not behind, not the time of the world, which says you have missed it, the time of God, which says you are exactly where you were designed to be, on the day you were designed to arrive here. And in that time, what has been held is being released. What has been arranged is beginning to move. Chosen one, receive what I am about to speak as something established before this moment arrived. Something that is true, not because I am declaring it, but because the one who formed you settled it before the world, had a name for what you carry. You are not too late. You are not behind. You are on the exact schedule of the one who created the schedule. And what is coming in this next season is carrying the full weight of every season that prepared you for it. Do not minimize what has been built in you through the years of pressing through. It is not small. It is the precise preparation for a landing that could not have arrived any earlier. I release the version of you that accepted the fog as the permanent condition. I release the prayers that rose and seemed to dissolve before they landed. I release the moments of clarity that came and then slipped before they could take root. I release the quiet conclusion that the full version of your hearing was no longer available to you. I release the exhaustion of carrying a calling at a fraction of the capacity it was designed to move at. I release the interference that was never yours to carry. I release the static. I release the noise. I release the congestion of years. That was the season. That was not you. You are the signal carrier returning to original frequency. You are the receiver coming back online to full specification. You are the chosen one who does not earn the hearing because it was always yours. You are stepping out of the fog and into the clarity that was prepared before you knew to ask for it. Type "It is done" in the comments right now and seal this over your season. And so it is. If there is someone in your life pressing through the same fog, who has been faithful and sincere, but whose hearing has felt distant, share this message with them today. Someone who prays but senses something is blocking the full reception. Someone whose calling is real but whose clarity has been inconsistent. They did not end up needing this by accident. Put it in front of them. And if you have been walking with these messages and finding that each one lands somewhere real, join the community of thousands of chosen ones who return to this space regularly. You carry what they carry. They will recognize you when you arrive. If something in this message reached a real place in you today, press the like and let it find the next person who is one message away from remembering who they are.